Stocktwits Nation is Wednesday, May 14th. Here with Shay, Boloor, as always, and a super special guest, as promised, Jonathan Morgan, lead crypto analyst and writer for the Litepaper. Jonathan, welcome to the program. I don't know if you've been following this week, but we're going hard in the paint on crypto all week. So we're really happy to have you here with us today.
Is that what we're doing this week?
Yes.
Notice.
That is what we're doing. I think it's crypto craziness week. It's like sweeps. We're going all in. So here's how the show is going to go today, guys. Obviously, I have Jonathan here, and Shay and I have a ton of questions for him about the state of the crypto markets. Obviously, the things are happening over on the equity side, so markets are flexing. The S&P's clawing back. A lot of AI hype. We got the MBS meetings going on. We've got Nvidia news. There's a lot to cover. So we're going to start with crypto. Hang with us, catch up on crypto, and then we're going to get back over to the state of the stock market. Jonathan, I mean, you're in this stuff way closer than Shay and I. And we had some guests yesterday come on. I'm always curious to ask people who are like in the thick of it, what are the headlines or the trends standing out to you? So give us a quick rundown. What's going on in the state of crypto right now?
I mean, the fundamentals in crypto are pretty apparent. Everybody and their dog in traditional finance wants in on it and is following Strategy's playbook of adding Bitcoin. But there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes from a technical analysis perspective and from an on-chain analytics perspective, and especially with Stocktwits' sentiment data that is really, I think, some of the more major and important things going on. I mean, just to give you an idea of how insanely bullish crypto is doing right now, if Bitcoin were to close the month today, it would be the highest monthly close ever. And if it ticks up a couple $100 more, if it were to close the week today, it would be the highest weekly close ever. So that's where Bitcoin itself is at. Now, the altcoin market, the speculative side that everybody wants to know, when, moon, and all that jazz, it did not look good at all. In fact, when you look at Ethereum's, the percentage of Ethereum addresses that were in profit a month ago was at 32-ish%. 32%, which is horrible when you consider that when Terra collapsed in 2022 and when FTX collapsed, the profitability of those addresses, the percentage was still at 50%. So for no apparent reason, fundamentally, it was in the doldrums, despite being in, the best, most positive macro regulatory environment. Hell, you have a president who is openly crypto pro and has meme coins with his name attached to him. I mean, it's not, you couldn't ask for a more bullish fundamental environment, and yet altcoins are not catching a bid. They're just getting hammered, especially Ethereum. Fast forward to today. Say that again.
Keep going. I want to ask about Ethereum because I'm very curious why it's down 22% and because I don't know enough to know. But keep going, and then let's go back because I think a lot of people have questions about that.
Sure. Yeah. Fast forward to today, last week, that the number of profitability of the percentage of the addresses shot up to 44%. Now we're at 67%. So things turn around very quickly. It wasn't going to take a ton of good news to go. And any on-chain metric you looked at for Ethereum, the MVRV ratio, which is basically looking at the near-term people buying it, are they in loss or profit? Any day you looked at 360 day, 180 day, 90 day, 30 day, it was all below the one line, which means everybody who has bought it in that time frame is in loss. And it just looked like it fell out of the punch me in the face tree, and everybody kept hitting it, and then nobody helped it up. Everybody's walking by, the dogs are peeing on it, and now it finally looks like the hospital showed up and they're doing okay. And that's not just for Ethereum. It's the entire altcoin market is doing very, very well.
Can I ask you a quick follow up on that? Because I get this question all the time on Ethereum. I'm such a TradFi guy. So this is like a 95-year-old trying to talk to his great grandson about AI right now.
Sure.
I think Ethereum has a lot of potential in theory. I just think it's looking for problems to solve that's just not there right now. And I think the infrastructure has been impressive. Like the developer ecosystem is like unmatched with what they're kind of offering right now. But outside of DeFi and the NFTs, like which both of them are like hyper niches already, like I don't think mainstream utility really has landed. I don't think it's going to land anytime in the near term future. And that's I'm like, oh, okay, they don't have a problem to solve right now, and their technology really hasn't innovated over the past couple of years. Curious your input on that.
Uh, I think Ethereum is great for crypto in that it showed up and showed us what it could do besides being a store of value. As far as Ethereum itself, personally, I think it's a dead horse. I mean, every upgrade that it's had, including the Pectra upgrade, has been, it's been a desire to address the problems that it has with scalability. The L2s are bleeding it dry. And the entire ecosystem, I hate that word, but all of crypto has branched off into other use cases. So you have things like Stellar, Algorand, Hedera, Avalanche. They are heavily involved in not just the creating stable layer ones, but they're involved in the tokenization of real world assets. You also have a lot of layer ones that are heavy into online gaming, and Ethereum's just honestly, Ethereum is being propped up by a lot of institutions who wanted to get in on it. This is just my opinion, where they saw this is the number 2 market cap in the space. It's been that way for years. I think once you get the people doing the real risk analysis and they hire the people who are experts in crypto, I think Ethereum is just not going to be something that lasts for very much longer. I could be wrong.
No,
They could. I mean, they could get better and everything's fine, but yeah, it's still an issue. It's still too expensive. Doesn't scale. But
no,
we'll see.
I agree with that sentiment. I mean, that's exactly what I was trying to indicate. Where like they were a first mover, but they really haven't done much since then. And typically, when you're a revolutionary first mover, you don't continue to innovate and capitalize on the momentum. People just leverage what you disrupted into something else, like the new derivative of Ethereum, for example. And I think, it feels
It's a
like the
lot of.
BlackBerry situation where like smart BlackBerry revolutionized the smartphones, and then
Mhm.
iPhone got created, and all these different galaxies got created, etc. So like I think it's going down that avenue, and I think it's really important to like see that and not just like go, oh, Ethereum's underperforming Bitcoin, buying opportunity. No, there's a reason for that. Bitcoin is the gold, the mecca of crypto. Ethereum, the narrative is dying out a bit, and you have to be careful on where you put your capital in this crypto environment.
Yeah. And Ethereum, for people who are crypto purists who view crypto as not just a source of wealth generation and speculation investment, there's a lot of people who believe in crypto because of what it is politically and its ideals. And Ethereum is a slap in the face to those kinds of people because Ethereum, a lot of people don't remember this, but the DAO hack back in, what was that, 2015 or something? Ethereum Classic, ETC's that ticker. That's the original Ethereum. This Ethereum that we have is the hard fork of that. The Ethereum that we use now is the one that said, let's just pretend that theft never happened, and let's just copy paste this and we'll just work on that from now on. That's why Charles Hoskinson left and some other people left Ethereum, because they believed, in my opinion, correctly, that blockchain should be immutable. You should be able to just do those kinds of things. But yeah,
Jonathan, I want to get your thoughts too on Solana. I was reading some headlines last week about, you're talking about institutions embracing some of these assets. Solana in particular, how are you thinking about that one? And are there specific features of that investors can be looking to?
Solana's got a lot of activity, and I'm still kind of a critic of Solana, and it's one of those things where Van Eck has I believe they have an ETP, or they filed for an ETP, but there was a live stream recently where one of their bigwigs was like, we don't know how it works, how the consensus mechanism works. There's Solana's when it came out, I mean, there's been a lot of research on some of the things that are like make it seem kind of shady and iffy. I have not done a ton more updated research into it myself, but there's a lot of institutions who want to hop on board with it because it is very popular. It is fast. It hasn't broken down recently for a while, so that's good. I think they might have a thing that you see in like warehouses this many days since an injury. I think Solana's gone for a long time now without the blockchain getting interrupted or halted. Uh, I mean, the thing is, a lot of people who have criticisms of Solana, it's due to that it being decentralized or not decentralized. Uh, for institutions who are looking for something to invest in that has applications for growth outside of just being a ticker symbol, Solana is very attractive.
And what do you make of the news of Coinbase entering the S&P 500? What's the sentiment in the crypto community? Because that's an interesting one. Obviously, it's a stock outside of the crypto community that is focused solely on crypto. Is this a celebratory moment for people like you?
Big time. I mean, if you haven't been in crypto for a while, if you've been in crypto since like 2015, this is a huge deal. For other people, it's really maybe not so much because if you got into it in 2019, 2020, crypto was already kind of out there. I mean, it became more mainstream. But if you asked anybody back then if we would ever see or think that there would ever be a publicly traded company that is crypto focused, that would be in the S&P 500, I don't think anybody would have said that would be as fast as it happened, is that had happened. That is a huge event.
Yeah, I like they had a very dramatic social post where they're like, first they ignore you, then they make fun of you, and then they add you to the S&P. Yeah. I was like, touche.
And also, they're kind of like one of the big red trucks in investing for traditional markets, I think, because they're the main custody holder. They're even though they have some of the highest trading fees out there, they're trusted. And for people who have been in crypto for any length of time, that is a major important factor. So, yeah, they're just going to be money churners for a long ass time.
Yeah. And Jonathan, because I just met you, I'm curious. I'm always curious. People who are very early into crypto, obviously very knowledgeable. What was the moment when you first bought in or became a believer? Do you remember like when that was and what the circumstances were?
Yeah, I was mining some Bitcoin with some friends, and my brother was mining that as well. Did we hold on to all of it? Hell no. No, like nobody held on to all their Amazon stock when it first came out either. But I mean, that was a pretty big deal. I mean, I experienced the very beginning of the. I really didn't get heavy into altcoins and such till like 2015, 2016. But I remember the Mt. Gox hack and how devastating that was. That actually made me get out of it for a while. Wow. I was like, okay, well, this thing's dead. this was a fad, but. Oh, nope. That was not true at all.
Sounds like you have to have a thick skin to be in the game as long as you have. Want to give you the final word on as we look to the crypto markets this week. So it's so interesting lately. I think the equities markets, the stock market steals a lot of headlines because there's so much intraday drama and crypto sort of chugs along. But for folks who, they're exploring Cryptotwits, obviously we launched that this week. A lot of people across the border. What are some things you're watching the next few days that you think would be helpful for other people to watch as well?
I don't know if I can say this or not, but I'm just going to give you my personal opinion as somebody I've had Stocktwits account. I've had a Stocktwits account since like 2015. So I've loved Stocktwits for a long time, even before I started working here back in June of 2022. So I've been here almost 3 years. But the social sentiment, this applies to equities and everything else too, is the social sentiment and message data that we have is, I think, horribly underutilized as sort of a cheat code. I want to use XRP as an example. There's a lot of people who are looking for signals or something that is visual data driven. The social sentiment data and the message volume data that we have are insanely powerful lead indicators for whether something's going to move or if an initial move that has happened is likely to be sustained. Ripple or XRP, that is a perfect example. If you look back to like November, The message volume was like sitting at 22. The message volume then ticked up, but the sentiment stayed flat to even trending lower. And I was looking at it on like the chart where you see the lines. And that is I'm trying to find my notes here as I'm talking about this, but otherwise I'm going to sound like I'm blabbering. But
You don't. I get where you're going with this.
Yeah.
People, I totally agree with you, by the way. I'm glad you brought this up. These data points within the pages are so interesting. And I think sometimes I'm even talking to people, they're like, yeah, I go on Stocktwits. I'm like, no, you got to like look at this stuff. Because it is very directionally interesting, even if it's a jumping off point for learning more. You might not make a direct move on it, but yeah.
One of the first things you learn in technical analysis is this thing called volume precedes price. So whatever volume is doing is that's happening before price moves. I would argue that if more people start using this and if institutions start using this, they're going to tell people in the future that what people are, because you would see volume meaning people were buying something and then price moved up. Well, people talk about stuff before they do it. And that is represented beautifully on with our message volume and sentiment data, where message volume starts ticking up and sentiment is flat to slightly rising, but the prices are sitting flat. That is a huge, like crazy, like go flag for me. Also, if prices are rising and sentiment is going up and message volume is staying relatively flat, that is that to me, that is always, I've always observed it as being a sign that the bus is moving. So you better get on it. And you might be able to get the best seat on the bus that you want, but if you don't, you're going to miss it. And that bus is going to take off without you. There's a lot of underused, I think it's awesome that it's not used that much so far because it's such a powerful advantage. But more people should be using it, and it's a stupidly powerful tool that is not being utilized enough or talked about enough.
I agree, and I know we got to let you go in a bit, but I'm curious, do you ever look at Google Trends data for people in the research mode, certain assets ticking up? Is that another source that you look to as you're studying?
I'll use, like, for crypto markets, I'll use on-chain analytics data like from Santiment or Glassnode or Into the Block, where they track the social trending words, phrases in crypto. But even their stuff is not as effective and as sensitive as because I was looking for things that, like, is this just a fluke? Is our stuff just actually really that good? And it is in fact actually that good. And it's kind of part of the base thing that we offer, and it's kind of nuts.
Well, all of us brains going together, the collective wisdom is obviously smarter than the whole. So, Jonathan, I know we got to let you go. Thank you so much for swinging by. I hope you come back soon. I learned a lot. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. Guys, have a good rest of your day.
All right. So we're gonna pivot, but before we pivot, we are going to go to a quick message from our friends at Grayscale. Grayscale is, of course, the world's largest crypto-native asset manager with over a decade of experience helping investors get into crypto investing. So if you're thinking about crypto, you might want to consider investing with Grayscale. You can look for their investment products directly in your brokerage account or visit grayscale.com for more information. And I believe we have a quick message from them.
Looking to add a Bitcoin fund to your portfolio? Do it with the Bitcoin Mini Fund from Grayscale, the lowest cost way to get exposure to Bitcoin in your investment account. Just search for fund ticker BTC wherever you invest. The Bitcoin Mini from Grayscale. Think crypto. Invest Grayscale.
All right, Shay, let's get back to our bread and butter. I like talking about crypto, but I really like talking about the stock market with you. And I know this week we're focused a lot on crypto, but let's shift gears. I saw you tweeting about Palantir. So obviously they're hitting a new high. There's some activity going on with a potential bromance brewing, the Saudi crown prince and the president. So with $600 billion in U.S. bound capital pledged, Do you think this is the start of a real military tech bull cycle?
I mean, kinda. I think first off, like seeing Carp going to on that trip with Trump and Elon, I just think that's a massive stamp of validation of like how big Palantir has gotten. Like they become a massive, massive company. Just 2 years ago, a $15 billion company. Now it's 300 billion. You're seeing Carp in rooms with Trump, with the president, Elon, the Saudi prince. So many AI initiatives came to light yesterday. Six, like you said, $500 billion essentially. And Palantir, like valuation is the only hole to really put into why you should own Palantir, and they keep executing. So I think that is it's a valid bear thesis, but when Palantir is at $25, that was the same thesis. It's 7x since, 6x since. Those are the kind of narratives that it's dangerous if you follow, because when things are pricey, there's a reason they're pricey. It's because they have a competitive advantage, a defensible moat, and an early disruptor and a secular growth theme. Like there's a reason why people want to pay up to own that company. And Palantir has been expensive for years, and it is going to continue being expensive. Yes, I think 100 times sales, freaking. I don't know if it's that at that level, but I think it's like 80 times maybe. Even then, like that's wild to say, but like the expense, if the cheap can always get cheaper, the more expensive can always get more expensive. So like I think eventually it's gonna have to consolidate a bit. I'm not delusional. It's my number one position, so I've cut as much as I can, and I de-risked myself. Like this is all profits. It's still my number one position, and now I'm letting it ride because it's just such a disruptor. And I already did what I needed to de-risk the position, but it keeps going up and up, and I let the winners win. And sure, this might be trapped between $100 and $150 for 4 or 5 years. That might be a reality. That's totally fine. But I do see $1 trillion company in the making, and I don't know when it hits there, but eventually it's going to. And when you're the operating system of AI with no ceiling yet, because nothing's been identified, it's too early innings of it, you're going to catch a bid, especially when the AI tsunami I continue talking about on the show. They're protected from it. Like God created a bubble around them, and like you're safe from that tsunami. So I think that bubble has a premium, and the market's willing to assign a ridiculous one, but it keeps going up to the right.
Yeah, Carp looked really excited to be there. I saw some of the videos. He's a little, he seems a little neurotic, but he was jumping around, and of course there was a star-studded event. A lot of power players there. Musk was there, Jensen Huang, Larry Fink. The deal, Saudi Arabia announcing a $600 billion commitment to U.S. investments. Just politically, this is definitely a 180, I would say, from the prior administration. They were a little colder to MBS and company. I saw a quote this morning that Trump said to MBS, "I like you too much," which, as somebody who said that to somebody, it backfires sometimes. But they are like this. They're thick as thieves. I think there is the other side of things. Obviously, Saudi Arabia has been historically economic partners with China. So this sort of opens questions around, are there potentials for backdoor access via Saudi Arabia, even talking about chips, which we'll get into. So a lot's going on, a lot's changing there. The markets in general are opening strong, and we're starting to claw back some of these 2025 losses. So we're pushing that benchmark S&P 500 into the green. Want to talk about Nvidia next. So they, as part of this deal, they're committing to sending 18,000 of the top shelf Blackwell chips to Saudi Arabia. That stock jumped over 5% on the news. This is, of course, after Jensen Huang, as you said, had a mistressy move where he trotted off to China to try to patch things over on the announcement a few weeks ago that they weren't going to be able to sell some things to China. Let's talk about Nvidia, Shay. Like this part of it, outside of the defense tech Palantir, what do you make of this?
So I love how narrative always follows price action. I think Nvidia they were just getting, when it was at $90 and all these like China headwind China's stories of like, oh, China's catching up. Big tech is building their own silicon. CapEx is peaking. Um, AI demand isn't being monetized enough. Like all this noise was consistently being spread, FUD on headlines when Nvidia was just really lagging the market at $90. Now at what, a 134, they're getting the recognition they deserve, and they're essentially going back towards like they're going to become the first 10 trillion dollar company, which I think that actually absolutely might be a reality. Because listen, like Nvidia didn't sneak up on the world. Like the world just simply didn't realize what Nvidia was building. Like it wasn't just a gaming chip company. It wasn't just about GPUs. It was essentially a whole new value creation that was being implemented from Nvidia, where it's like a new rail system for intelligence itself. Because going back, like we're no longer living in an internet first world. We're kind of we're living in an intelligent first one, where product design, diagnostics, logistics, drug pipelines, etc., like all those kind of things are shifting from deterministic software to probabilistic intelligence, where there's going to be an unimaginable amount of demand towards business intelligence, like not at once. It's not going to be like a vacuum demand, the flip of a switch, it's gone. It's going to be perpetual. It's not going to be just in one location. It's going to be everywhere. And Blackwell isn't really just a chip. It's a control layer. And I think that's where you're seeing all these companies, governments are racing to secure not because these chips, not because they want to run proofs of concept. Like it's because they know that without it, they don't get to participate in the next economy, the digital economy. And even if the one Blackwell chip costs $3 million, they're all back ordered. And it's not just months, like over a year. And that's by the time it gets fulfilled, there's going to be a new innovation of chips, the Rubin. So I do think there is a global bidding war for the new oil, and that new oil is Nvidia chips.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying there, and I think with this conversation too, it's interesting because a few weeks ago I feel like we were having a conversation around more limitations around the movement of these chips, and now the stance is that the current policies are a little too complex, so they're rewriting those, obviously as a benefit to these chip manufacturers. Sticking on the AI theme, Shay, I actually caught a headline this morning when I woke up early and I was, before doing anything else, I was opening X because I just like to start my day stressed out. But I caught this, the Perplexity PayPal news. So this is very interesting because we sort of touched on this topic. Tell us what's going on with this partnership between Perplexity and PayPal, specifically around in-chat shopping.
So I think you're going to see, first off, you can whatever you buy experience wise. If you use Venmo or PayPal, like they're going to be able to have AI essentially give you that intelligence on what makes the most sense when you make these purchases. Like they're gonna, and also just handle all the tedious the payment, shipping, tracking, support, like all the annoyance of dealing with a human FTE on potential issues or just like questions. Like bada bing, bada boom. It's going to tell you right away. And that's the intelligence part. So like they're making transactions intelligent, and this is not going to be a one-off story. That's why these LLMs, they're an absolute commodity. But the thing about commodities is they will be used everywhere. Everywhere. So Perplexity is partnering up with PayPal. Wouldn't be surprised if PayPal uses some other LLM as well. It's not tied to Perplexity, but also, I don't know, if Zell uses ChatGPT or Gemini, like you're gonna see every single website being used have some kind of partnership with an LLM search tool, and it's a beginning sign of where the times are going.
Yeah, there was an opening bell right there. And Shy, one thing that popped in when I saw your post, I kind of had this moment where I was like, oh, and it made me think of X Money and Grok. Because there's been chatter this week about X Money, the payments product within X, Elon Musk's ecosystem. starting to potentially, they've been talking about it, but there's buzz it's going to go live soon. And so that feels like a similar environment where you have an LLM and AI ecosystem paired together with fintech and payments. So I think that's really interesting as well. And admittedly, the move towards payments it hadn't like hit me before the why. I was like, oh, he just wants a piece of that fintech pie. But this makes more sense to me in the context of the Perplexity PayPal news.
I mean, I also think like this fintech is tricky because fintech is such a competitive industry that really doesn't have that much of a differentiation between each other. But like, I also I'm violently offsides on how much I thought Elon would innovate X into an existing ecosystem. I thought there would be some kind of fintech tool within X that X is going to be feeding into XAI, which maybe not, now that they're going to accelerate, and then it's all going to be in Teslas. Like, I thought there was going to be like an umbrella of all these tools. I haven't seen that yet. So I think there's been the narrative that X, whatever Elon's going to do with X, might be a massive disruptor towards PayPal, because I feel like a lot of X users go on PayPal. Also, like, don't even get me started on PayPal, how they messed up on their first mover advantage, where Venmo was revolutionary. Like, that, again, we were just talking about Jonathan about like Ethereum, like first movers. If they don't continue innovating, they become leveraged into new derivatives of whatever that disruption was. Venmo is the same thing. Zelle. I use Zelle just as much as Venmo now. And Venmo was like the go-to. And now there's the competing tools, because what they do once they launched Venmo, they didn't really do much after that. So everyone else just poached it a bit. And that's always the issue on my corporate strategy. I always say, like, even if you disrupted, eyeballs opened up, like, whoa, this is big, you can't just sleep at the wheel. Like, you have to continue momentum, innovating every year or so. So I digress from the Elon Musk conversation, but I will say that I'm excited to see what X is going to look like post XAI merger. And I would not be surprised to see a fintech product get released. Partnering up with Visa, that's telling me some signs or what's coming down the pipeline.
I'm glad you went over to Venmo, because this case study is so interesting to me. So people who aren't familiar with Venmo, well, first of all, PayPal, I think, has lost about half of its market share over the last few years. So struggling a bit. Venmo got very popular among the coast. So New York, SF, it was like one of these products that was adopted by VCs and then tech people. And so that became sort of the dominant payments layer. And then you had Zelle with a different go-to-market. Their go-to-market was, hey, let's not even worry about building this standalone brand or app. Let's embed within partners, which I think is very smart. So if you use Zelle, a lot of times it's within your bank. Cash App was like, okay, cool. All the tech bros, all the VCs are using Venmo. We're going to go to the South. We're going to go to the Midwest. We're going to go for different audiences. And Cash App, there's actually, I could pull it up. There's maps that show there's a regional split with Cash App and Venmo that's fascinating. So Venmo had all, the journalists, the VCs, they had all that momentum. And Cash App was like, cool, we're going to where like the people are. And then they started doing partnerships. Megan Thee Stallion, they had that couple summers where they were just partnered with every celebrity. So they really got young people over there. And it was a very interesting, those three, the go-to-markets are so different. But I think Venmo, a lot of companies start like with momentum in these areas of tech investment. They didn't, to your point, they just didn't push beyond that, both from like a product standpoint, but also just go-to-market and who they were trying to reach. Very different brands across those two. So I'm curious, like, Shay, with your friends, and what are people Venmoing, Zelling? I feel like Zelle is one that's becoming more and more used among my friends, more so than a Venmo.
Well, first off, because Zelle, you can get in your bank account ASAP. That's a pretty big game changer. I think for Venmo, like, there was a moment where there was a social media component to it, where you could see, like, oh, who paid who? Like, oh, why did they pay them? You can make jokes about it on like the payments. Like, you can see that people's humors. Like, there was an angle that they could have pulled where it could have been a little social media, why not create an e-commerce presence with that on the UI? Look somewhat of like, why can't you have a Pinterest type of dashboard in your platform? Or I don't know, it felt very Snapchatty when Snapchat got released right away. You can see like who everyone's most engaged posts were with, so you can see like, who was talking to who's like tight circles. Like there could have been a component like that in Venmo as well, where you can see who pays who the most and like who's in their circle type of thing.
Yeah.
It just they didn't gamify it, which maybe there's restrictions, maybe they're handcuffed to it. I don't know the fintech world well enough, but I think Zelle is definitely more of for the big money. It's definitely Zelle. Anything over like $500, it's probably Zelle, to be honest. And Venmo is more for like degeneracy stuff like gambling or like some side bets,
Splitting
dinners,
meals.
splitting
Yeah.
meals, exactly.
I mean, I think that's a fascinating concept, Shy, of like the social layer. Yeah, I think there was an element of virality that came from the voyeurism of Venmo. And I think Venmo gave us the gift of just people being, frankly, too dumb to realize what data they were sharing. And I will say, like, among me and my girlfriends, like, we would be looking and we're like, I can't believe this guy is Venmoing this person on Main. Like, no clue. And we also have all, like, the gifts of the politicians not realizing. And I think the big thing, too, with Venmo, I don't know if, like, might be, like, a women inside secret, but for a while, like it was automatically for a lot of people adding, anytime you added a number to your phone, add it as a contact. So you can basically see who is adding numbers to their contact list. So
Oh.
there was this whole underground Venmo usage. But going back to, I think your concept of, when you were describing the social layer of like product discovery, imagining a feed of like everyone's Amazon checkouts that they chose to be public to discover and see like pictures of what your friends are buying. That's really interesting to me. And you're right that it doesn't, that I feel like that could be a big business. I wonder why Amazon doesn't have something like that where you can kind of see, I mean, they have the storefronts, but yeah, I could go on for days about that. Venmo is like, it's an inside joke with me and my friends because we're just like, man, Venmo is the thing that showed us like people don't know how this stuff works. Even the smartest ones, you're like, oh man, why are you public? They don't know. Matt Gates, of course, a victim to that as well. Let's turn to what else is going down in the markets today. Oh, I know we could talk about Shy. Airbnb. You follow the announcement they made yesterday about doubling down in services. Do you see this?
I did. Now I can get a haircut, a masseuse, and food cooked for me while I book an Airbnb. They're trying to replace Fiverr, it feels like, or like Fiverr's marketplace a bit, like make it a little more giggy.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had the same thought. I was like, oh, I saw the headline. I was like, are they going after TaskRabbit, Fiverr? But it is like, it's bougier services. So it's not like, oh, I'm at this apartment in Barcelona and I need someone to fix the shower. It's like, I'm at this apartment in Barcelona and I want someone to come cook for me. Or like, take me on a private bike ride. But it is a big move for them. A lot of people were speculating because Brian Chesky was like, big announcement coming, and everyone's like, they're building a hotel. Didn't happen. But he's on the press tour, and you see markets reacting to that one a bit. But he does have this bigger picture for the company. I did see a snippet from an interview this morning on CNBC that he did, where he basically said he got the idea for this the weekend that Sam Altman was getting pushed out of OpenAI. I don't know if you heard this story, but I was like, this is weird. So he's basically saying, yeah, I had this idea. I'm like in the foxhole with Sam. We're trying to figure out how he's going to get his job back. And then Chesky just gets like off on this tangent. And he's like, wait, I have a different idea for the vision of my company. So he's like, all right, Sam, like, good luck. He goes off, writes this like manifesto. It all works out in the end for Sam, but I'm like, imagine your friend's like, hey, I really need you. And you're like, wait, I got a great idea. I'll like be right back.
Your misery is my opportunity. I'll be right back. Let me figure out what to do. Yeah.
I know. I was like, this is a weird story that ended out okay for everybody involved. But is it like an investor? Do you think Airbnb is interesting, or even just a consumer? How How do you think about their future versus like traditional hotel lodging experiences? Do you have any opinions on that?
So I'm actually not the demo for Airbnb. I don't like Airbnbs. I think
Yeah.
they're kind of not ridiculous, it's just overhyped. First off, like I think it's the same philosophy for Korean barbecue. Like you're going somewhere, you're paying the restaurant price, but you're cooking the meal yourself. Like why? It's the same thing for Airbnb. Like you're going somewhere, but you have to make sure it's perfectly clean by the time you leave, and you have to make your bed every day, and you have to make sure like you're living in an apartment and you have to clean up for yourself, but you're paying honestly a premium to what hotels are. It does not make sense to me. So for me, I'm like, what? Because in a hotel, like I want the they clean your room every single day. They do the pillow down service. Like they just like it feels like you have a maid and
Yeah.
you're living in luxury. Airbnb, it just feels like I'm in someone else's home. Interesting, that cool design, but everything else day to day, it's on me, and that's not relaxing at all. So like I don't get the business model, but that's so this perspective is coming from someone who does not make sense to me at all.
Yeah.
But for that new
Digital
innovations,
nomads.
yeah, for like yeah, the people are like they want to hop. Like I do think these add-on services is really smart because if I want to go to Barcelona, rent an Airbnb, I want like a Spanish cook to
Yeah.
cook for me to get the ingredients from the markets and it feels more authentic. And then maybe the same thing for every single country I go to. That's really cool. Or if I'm going to New York, for example, I don't for like this media circuit thing, I don't have to deal with like finding a salon or like trying to find a barber and I want to get a haircut. Like I'll just go to Airbnb. They all come to me. I get a massage, feel relaxed before I go on TV, get a haircut. That's enticing to me.
Yeah.
That's like the add-on layer. But before, it's just the home and also like the anxiety of like, if did I miss something? If I miss something, they're so aggro
Oh
about
yeah.
upcharging you. I'm like,
Yeah.
I like to leave and like forget like that's it. I'm gone. Then no like upsells.
It is funny to like think about getting a massage in an Airbnb and the next day it's like be sure to take out the trash and put the laundry in. You're like, wait a minute. Like I was just like on the massage table. I I agree with you. I think it's a novelty. I think it's 80-20 rule with Airbnb. I like staying at unique places. Like I've stayed in a yurt on a commune in Northern California. It was literally a tent. I've stayed on a boat. Like I like finding weird Airbnbs. Like my friends and I went to Wisconsin last summer. We got like this cool cabin in the woods. But it's either got to be like the architecture, the space has like there's an experience or like some sort of like honestly doing it for the bit. Or you're right. It's just you're in someone's like apartment with their stuff and then yeah, it's a very hit or miss. So
Well, also, as a woman, like the
yeah,
cameras, are you
I
kidding me?
know.
Like there's so many horror stories about camera situations. I would
I
never feel comfortable.
Yeah, it is weird. Like with Uber, kind of did this where there's like the comfort we have just like getting into strange places because an app facilitated it. It's kind of wild. And I always
Well,
see it. Yeah, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say I will say humanoids can remove all my concerns. Like if an Airbnb comes with a humanoid and they do everything for me,
Oh my god, that's so
that
creepy.
that might be creepy initially, but over time, like if that's a reality, we're like, okay, well, humanoid will clean up for me, do my maid, like all that stuff. Like that's I'm hotels won't offer that for my room. That's enticing. So
That's
maybe there's a
true.
partnership with the Tesla and Airbnb in the future.
Oh,
We'll see.
maybe. Although if I like following the drama. If Sam Altman and Chesky are friends, I don't know if Chesky likes Elon, but it could be. I don't know if it's that high school or not, or maybe they're all buddies. The humanoid robots for some reason creep me the hell out. And the serve robots I look at as like an animal, like a pet, and I like run up to them and I'm like, oh my god. And I don't know what it's just literally the exterior, but I don't like when the robots have limbs. I've decided that if they have limbs, it's a no for me. You seem to be all in though. You're like, yeah, bring them.
I mean, I will say, initially, I'm like, oh, okay, weird. But I go on Waymos. Like I know I see autonomy. I see like physical AI in a way. I robots like sure like when I'm watching a scary movie and I'm going to bed like if I see two red circles, I'm gonna freak out, and that might be
Like
the case.
standing above
It's
you.
just standing above me, or like the malfunctions. Like I won't buy a humanoid until like probably year 3 or 4,
Yeah.
because I need multiple updates of all the f ups they do. I don't want to be participating in being the victim of one, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. Like I wonder when people are gonna feel comfortable with like a humanoid walking their kids to school, for example, or picking their kids from school
Oh my.
and stuff like that. That's where I'm like, that will be a game changer for me as like a future father, hopefully, knock on wood. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, yeah. And then, like, will you need to own a humanoid to protect yourself from other like, bad humanoids? I don't want to, Shy, this is so dark. I don't want to be here for this. I don't, like, I love tech and innovation. I don't, and maybe I'll come around. Someone's gonna like play this clip in the future and be like, "Look at this woman. She doesn't understand." Like when Today Show was talking about like email, and they're like, "Who would do this?" I don't know. The limbs can't get down with the limbs.
it's
So
like when text messaging got created, it's like, I'm gonna keep sending letters. I don't trust like where that message is going when I send click. Like I don't know
right.
where it's going in the universe.
Oh my god. There was also another news story I want to talk about because it got to something we talked about last week of just like sports media. A lot of people were talking about ESPN because they're finally launching a standalone streaming app for $30 a month. And they're calling it ESPN, and everyone's like, wow, you can just call your streaming app the name of your company. That you can do hard things. So you got like NBC and Peacock, and like, they're like, nope, ESPN. I was like, great. But we were talking about them with these streaming wars, especially with sports, and they're trying to future-proof the brand. They've been historically very tied to cable, but they will be launching this soon. It's going to have a redesigned app. It'll have sports studio shows. Rich Eisen's coming back with a new show. So interesting move from them there on the heels of Disney's earnings last week. And as we were talking about, ESPN is an area of weakness for them.
So I mean, why not come up with something creative, like something that targets Gen Z, because that's what's missing for them. Like they're not targeting the newer demos. Like it's
Yeah.
millennials are kind of the dying demos for ESPN, and they tried to get the younger ones via Barstool, failed clearly, but I actually I don't know if they did. That was Penn. Sorry,
Yeah.
that was Penn.
But they were, I think there was talks. I
There
think
was
you're right
talks.
that
Maybe
there
that's
was
what it
talks.
was.
Yeah.
So they need to do something to kind of get the younger audience, because younger audiences don't watch linear TV anymore. And when they want to get sports news, they go on TikTok. They go watch Barstool. They go watch McAfee. Like they go watch these personalities. They don't go watch Stephen A. Smith or Bayless. They don't watch these like old farts who just now become characters rather than providing insights. So I think that they have a really big issue, and this was a missed opportunity on their end of like doing something fun, innovative on a betting app rather than just calling it ESPN. Like that's just such a
Yeah.
missed opportunity.
I don't know. The marketer in me was like, finally, I think sometimes marketers overthink. So like, just freaking call it, because ESPN is almost at that cycle of like not changing, that they're coming back around to being like retro cool. So I was even thinking about those ads they used to have, the
Retro
classic
cool.
ESPN TV ads, the sports, like those were so good. If they just started doing those, but TikTok style. Free idea, guys. Like it's almost
Seriously.
retro cool now. And I don't know if you saw this, Shy. This is exciting. Michael Jordan's going to be a special analyst for the NBA.
How bored is he right now in his retired life to want to do that?
Well, he's never done this before.
That's what I'm
So,
saying. He's so bored.
yeah, but like also I'm like, I think we know his personality as a player, but not as a commentator. Like, is he going to be like an asshole, or is he going to be like funny? We don't know.
He's gonna be a cocky. Probably leans douche a bit, which is great. You want to see that. Like
Yeah.
there's like you want to see personalities on TV that like they don't have to like play the game because they're aura or they're an icon, so they can do whatever they want. Kind of wish Tom Brady did that more. He's so PC and he's just so like vanilla that he just doesn't
Speaking
really.
of humanoid robots,
I know, right? See,
he is
he's
so
just
like, wow, he threw the ball. It was
yeah.
like I'm
There's
like,
no
whoa,
animation
man.
at all.
Yeah, he's smart, but I hope Jordan just like is like a like goes. I feel like he just like goes off the rails. But I'm trying to find what they paid him because it has to be an insane, right? Because he doesn't need this. He's
He doesn't need
chilling.
it. Yeah, 100%. He doesn't need the money. But I will say, like, when LeBron retires in a couple years and Jordan keeps doing if he continues doing this to his post life, like, I would watch that show so hard.
Oh my
Anything with
God.
LeBron and Michael on it, it'd be such entertainment.
Yeah, for me it would be the best if it was like LeBron, Jordan, and then just like throw in like a J.R. Smith, someone who just like
Someone who's just high all the time, just like,
someone just make
what's
it
happening?
yeah, someone who's just like gonna come in with like the like Charles Barkley kind of is that guy. Come in with like something really out of pocket, and everyone's just like, "What did you say?" And like you need someone like that. But I
The
think,
village idiot. You need village idiot on every kind of those shows. Yeah.
yeah, you just gotta have the one person who's just gonna say it. I was very excited to see that. I've been very nostalgic for like I don't know, like the late 90s. I don't know if I think it's like NBA playoffs always make me think about like Jordan and like the 90s. And I don't know why I will always tie those things together. So I saw it and I was like, oh, this is going to be good. So, yeah, if anyone knows what he's getting paid, send us an X or a tweet or whatever you call it. Cause I'm dying. We got a few minutes left, but I want to talk about one other thing I spotted. Some new data from Bamboo HR. There's been this push, obviously, of back to office. We've talked about this a lot. There's RTO, return to work. And this study actually found, it corroborated something I think a lot of people have thought, which is that 25% of the executives they surveyed hoped that employees would quit because of the RTO. So this is a very strategic way to riff without riffing. And I think I kind of always had that sentiment where people are like, if they leave, they leave. And I'm like, well, you seem very comfortable with that. So Shay, I don't know if you have any hot takes on return to office, but you're seeing Amazon, AT&T, the federal government, everyone's like, get your ass back to the office. Any thoughts on that trend?
Yeah, so I think it's that. First off, it's doing 10% layoffs, increasing workload 10%, hoping they quit because their bandwidth was diminished already. Now they're laying people off and giving them more work. They're going to leave by itself. Oh, that didn't work. All right, you guys have to come in 5 days a week now. They're trying to save paying that severance or like paying that 6 months of annoying expenses rather than just like, all right, you want to go. But I think it's less about employees are being happy that they want to stay in a company and safety. It's just there isn't that many great opportunities out there where if you start at a brand new company, there's so many jobs being disrupted from these AI tools. They're not getting comped accordingly. And there's going to be somewhat of a hesitation on building brand new teams when these tools can just replicate teams. So I do think that the return to office isn't having the success that you would anticipate as a C-suite, but I think that is because it's an employer's market now, and it's probably forever going to be that employee market that we experienced in 2021 to 2023. That was a blimp. It was not.
That was funny. People were like, "Make me come back."
Yeah, I was like,
And they're like,
I have
"Okay,
all the
just don't
leverage. Yeah.
quit."
Yeah, that was a blimp. That was not a turn of the tide that a
No.
lot of people thought.
It's interesting. So I'm in SF for a few days. I went to Oracle Park last night. What a beautiful stadium. But I was sitting next to this founder, and she said something that just like it was a very obvious thing, but she was saying, she's got a pre-seed company. It's 10 people. Decided to make some cuts, so I think they went down from like 9 people to 4 people, and then it was mostly performance. She said, honestly, she just needed to kind of like they made some bad hires. And then she's like, and then in the interim, when we were trying to figure out how to cover the work, we just realized AI could just do those jobs. And then they never hired back. I'm like, oh man, that's what's gonna happen. Like that is there you go, right? Like that's 4 jobs right there, and that's one story. But they weren't even like, we're gonna automate. They were like, well, let's just like see how we get by, and they just figured it out. And I was like, damn, that's to your point, like that's how there's these lean companies moving forward, and opportunities are going to be harder to come by.
For sure. It's capitalism is going to get brutal. It's going to be so. That's why I'm saying, like, whatever you're passionate about right now, sprint. Try to get as much momentum as possible before capitalism becomes not just a wall, just an anchor going forward, where like the bigger players will just continue to innovate at a rapid pace that the smaller players just won't be able to replicate. So yeah, I think we're entering a very unfortunate time in society that's only going to gain momentum. So you have to be very aggressive on what you want to do in the next like 20 to 30 years.
Yeah. Or like, just give us universal basic income. But I was also reading about how deep our identities are tied to work and having a purpose. And without, a lot of people, organized religion, sort of not a thing, community. If we lose the work thing, people are going to go nuts. And so that, I think, is the next thing of like, okay, if we're heading toward this future where we're working less, or we're all kind of getting this basic income, what is the point? And I think, to your point, digging in and understanding what you're passionate about, what you love doing, and running towards it right now, I think is a really sage piece of advice. So it's getting weird out there, and we're here to help you navigate it every day. We're going to help you fight the robots, or have them clean your apartment, whatever one you decide. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. We have more crypto news, market news. Be sure again, check out Cryptotwits. Thanks again to Grayscale. Shay, I'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning.